Now, we love to talk about this issue about the MS-13 gangs. We love to paint immigrants as criminals. That is not the complete facts. And that is very offensive for me to see continuing to happen, is continuing to message this anti-immigrant agenda. There are lots of good immigrants. And then I hear this rhetoric, more DACA-like people. Guess what? DACA-like people are the people we need in this country. They've served this country, they've gone to college, they produce, and they contribute to the economy. So to put them into the same category is completely offensive. Now, I happen to know about some of these people who come over and seek asylum. Why? Because I represented a family, an unaccompanied minor, when I was an attorney on a pro bono level, and I had to go find his mom, who was also in detention. Now, it is extremely hard to get asylum. It is very hard to get asylum. The standard is very hard, and it's very high. Now, I had unlimited resources at a big law firm. I could hire experts. And even then, I couldn't get asylum. Was it a fraud? No. Did she and they get protections? Yes, under a different category. It took years. But there are people who come to this country because they're fleeing the violence. In my particular case, they already killed one of her sons. Guess what? When one of your children is killed and you have one left, you are going to run. You are going to try to seek safe haven. And so it makes me sick to my stomach to keep hearing over and over again, painting the broad stroke and the picture as though these are folks who are coming here to do harm. And so, you know, it's just unbelievable to me how this rhetoric continues, and to see it continue in a campaign season just gets even worse and worse. And just because you don't get asylum doesn't mean that it's a fraud. And I think that's something that's just so important for me to state. Now, I want to move on to the issue of family separation. According to the New York Times, more than 700 children had to be taken from adults claiming to be their parents since October, including more than 100 children under the age of 4. Secretary Nielsen disputed this figure at a May 15th Senate Homeland hearing. She said that the 700 children figure was an HHS number and not a DHS figure. Does anybody on this panel know what the DHS figure is?
We can, for the record, get back to you with the actual number of people who were in CBP custody and was either unable to determine whether there was a familial relationship that we could prove and were comfortable with, or somebody was prosecuted under the having crossed the border illegally, and then that caused a family separation. We can get back to you and give you the exact number of that.
Okay, and let me tell you, it is hard for some of these families when they're fleeing violence and they're leaving their country. They're not exactly saying, oh, let me go look for documentation so that I can prove this is my child. I had a hard time in my own case having to find people there on the ground to get the documents that we needed to make a case, right? People are leaving because they're in distress, because they're facing violence and they're fearful, right? It's not generally something they're thinking about before they take off. How do I prove this is my child? I'll tell you right now, if I had to go find something to prove my relationship with my mother, it'd probably take me a little while. So I understand how difficult this is. Can you tell me how we are counting and tracking children that are separated from children?
So everybody that's taken into custody, it goes through the sort of a booking procedure, right? We get the biographical information, and so all of that is in the documentation systems at CBP. So that's how we try to establish whether they're related or not using those documents. That all becomes part of their record, because as they come in, that part of that processing is referring them for a removal hearing.
Great, thank you. I yield back.
Can I respond to the speech that was made?
Absolutely.
First of all, no one on this panel is anti-immigrant. We're law enforcement officers who enforce the law that you all enacted. So to sit there and say that we're anti-immigrant is just wrong. We are enforcing laws. If you think it's okay to enter this country legally and they shouldn't be arrested, that's just wrong. The laws clearly state enter the country legally is a crime. And no one's up here saying all illegal aliens are criminals. A certain percentage of them are criminals. They commit yet another offense after they're here. I've said many times, I certainly understand the plight of these people, and I feel bad for some of these people, but I have a job to do. I have to enforce the law and uphold the oath that I took to enact the laws enacted by you, Congress.